Vezax is a boss that is all about twisting the usual game mechanics. Thankfully he's still not a very complex normal mode fight. In spite of that, his strongest mechanic by far is the long walk of shame if wipes happen. Full mechanics rundown. Vezax is flat out immune to taunts. It is recommended to not pull threat if you're not a tank. Random example, a Warlock. Vezax, once pulled, will disable all mana regeneration, that is MP5, spirit, from items, from your base character, from potions, from talents, e.g. HPals, illumination, from spells, e.g. divine plea, everything. The only exceptions are retribution and enhancement, getting a very minor help to sustain their mana, lest they would be utterly useless and benched, which wouldn't be nice. That aura also reduces melee attack speed by 20%, for reasons. Due to this mechanic, I encourage all healers, MS and 0s, to not destroy their old gear and to look after gear that has no MPS. Spirit paladins especially have a brilliant selection of items that give haste plus crit, which is rarer on cloth, leather. Those specific items can be gemmed, enchanted differently, for instance with spell power gems on a HPal set, since intellect won't be of much use. Similarly, a specialized talent auspicirespect can be very handy. I know at least of a HPal talent build for Vezax, HMU if you need it. Right, and that's not all. You can actually regenerate mana in normal mode. Serenite Vapor ads will float around the room. They have low HP and are easily killed by cleave. When killed, they drop a green puddle below them. Staying in the green puddle will regenerate mana at the cost of their health, doubling up for every 2 seconds remained in the puddle. The first tick is 100 mana, at the cost of 200 health, the second 200 mana, 400 HP, then 400 mana, 800 HP, etc. This health loss can kill you, so don't die, especially since there are no mechanics to prevent movement, would be a great excuse. Encourage healers to rely on this mechanic the least possible, as it is disabled in hard mode. Right, and that's not all. He will regularly cast Shadow Crash at AR. Random player, preferring ranged. In this case it is vital to have enough ranged players. The Shadow Crash is a very slow-moving projectile but deals AoE high damage, 60 to 80% HP on impact, knocks any targets hit around, and leave a black puddle that grants the following to players on it: plus 100% magic damage dealt, plus 100% casting speed, mana costs minus 75%, healing done minus 75%. In other words, this is ranged DPS heaven. They will have to constantly dodge the regular shadow crashes, move back in to benefit the massive buff, rinse and repeat. As you'd expect, this is a huge DPS gain in spite of the movement, so extreme caution should be paid to not pull threat off the untauntable boss. Right, and ahem, he will sometimes 45 CD. Apply a debuff called Mark of the Faceless on a random player, preferring ranged. The debuff causes no harm to the player himself but will cause him to do high damage every second to nearby allies. Approximately 15% max HP every 2 seconds. Every tick heals Vezax not for the same amount, but for 50k if he has a healing debuff, Mortal Strike, aimed shot, 100k if the debuff is missing. That's a lot, so not only does it delay the boss's death greatly, but can also kill the ranged players that just want to sit in their shadow crash puddle. The marked player should thus get away from the raid ASAP, using rocket boots, blink, warlock portal, or anything that helps get player himself won't require healing, so he can run out regardless of his current health. If he keeps dodging shadow crashes, he'll be safe. And to make sure melees aren't bored, he will very frequently 8-10's cooldown cast Searing Flames, which must be interrupted. If not, it deals huge 50 to 70% fire damage to the whole raid and reduces their armor by 75%, certainly dooming the tank and causing a wipe. 2 melee DPS should focus to rotate kicks to handle this, as they won't be the primary DPS dealers in this fight. 1. Enhancement Shaman should be able to take all the kicks. And to make sure the tank doesn't fall asleep, he will buff himself every minute with Surge of Darkness for 10 seconds, doubling his melee damage but also slowing himself down by half. Even on hard mode this can be tanked through with cooldowns, but keep in mind a possible strat can involve kiting him during the surge and repositioning the raid further down the room. The downside of this strat is lower threat from the tank while he moves. Essentials. Tanks use cooldowns on Surge of Darkness and dish out as much threat as possible. Essentials. Healers. Practice saving your mana. Use green puddles to regen if needed. Keep everyone up. Discipline can stay in the black puddle as shields are not reduced by this aura. Learn to cancel your casts if the tank gets topped during your cast. Practice using externals on Surge, especially Hand of Sacrifice without dying.